Welcome, traveler, to the next chapter in the Book of Cultimate. Halloween is nearly upon us, and that means horror is in season. In these days of information superhighways, there is an unmanageable sea of options of truly chilling tales to choose from, but how to decide? Don't fret, dear viewer, for I am here as your humble guide to present the most chilling options available. This episode, we unleash the top 10 horror films on Netflix streaming for Halloween. Tucker and Dale vs. Evil is an absolutely hilarious genre bender from writer-director Eli Craig. It stars two of the most charming actors around, Tyler Labine and Alan Tudyk, as innocent hillbillies trying to enjoy a vacation in the woods.
Whoever used to live here must have been an archaeologist or something.
Yeah.
The movie turns the evil hillbilly genre on its head by making what would typically be their fodder only victims of circumstance rather than actual people that they're trying to kill. It's a really fun send-up of the genre that also includes plenty of violence for demanding gorehounds. The Dead Zone is based on a novel by Stephen King and directed by David Cronenberg. I'm a huge fan of his, and the movie definitely benefits from his touch. Oh, and don't confuse it with the Anthony Michael Hall TV series that clogged the USA Network. It's shit! This 1983 movie stars Chris Walken as a schoolteacher who awakens from a coma to discover he has psychic powers and can see people's fates by touching them. The movie is super intense, and the plot takes a lot of interesting, unexpected directions. While not especially gory, the movie has plenty of suspense and tackles life and death in a compelling way. Horror movies aren't typically known for high budgets, so that's one thing that makes this next choice so special.
World War Z!
It's got so many fucking zombies. I mean, it's like total insanity, and just seeing that realized on the screen is awesome. Of course, this kind of movie is really all about the different sweet set pieces, not characters or plot or any of that kind of stuff. Or like how things in the third act go completely off the rails into never-ending contrivances. Thanks, Lindelof.
You know, I think there are a lot of good writers who aren't necessarily storytellers.
Focus on the killer set pieces chock full of zombie mayhem and it will be okay. The RE-ANIMATOR is the textbook definition of an 80s cult horror film in the best way possible. Genre hero Jeffrey Combs stars as Herbert West, a medical student who discovers a serum to resurrect the dead, with some unfortunate side effects. It basically turns him into zombies, but he's not going to let that stop him, and will do whatever it takes for science! This sort of adaptation of an H.P. Lovecraft story is definitely low budget, but excels with brilliant work from Combs and a healthy heaping of sweet practical gore. The movie is definitely cheesy, but it revels in it with a lot of great gags. However, it is still able to create real suspense and horror as well. When it comes to all-time classics, one name that must be mentioned is Rosemary's Baby. This is definitely more of a slow burn psychological horror movie, but is the kind of experience that sticks with you for a lifetime, especially the ending. Oof. Mia Farrow and John Cassavetes move into a swanky New York apartment building, and everything seems normal at first. But now Guy, Cassavetes, wants a baby, and there's definitely something going on with the next-door neighbors, especially after she is possibly drugged by them and has a horrible dream of being impregnated by a demon. Yeah. Keep your neighbors out of your lives, folks. It's the safe way. One thing is for sure, director/creepster Roman Polanski definitely knows how to craft a story, and every aspect of the film is expertly executed. What epic project could finally bring together indie heavyweights Robbie Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino? No, not that piece of shit Grindhouse. From Dusk Till Dawn. Thankfully, QT wrote the script solo on this one, in addition to co-starring as the much uglier Gecko brother to dreamy George Clooney. It's cool to see Clooney in a role like this, and he does a great job with the over-the-top material. After a robbery gone wrong, the Gecko brothers find themselves at an out-of-the-way strip club where things aren't really what they seem. You know, because vampires. Sexy vampires. At its core, the movie is a vampire flick, but it dips into a variety of genres and usually pulls it off. It's a lot of fun with some great scares and gore, even including horror makeup legend Tom Savini as the unforgettable sex machine. Wes Craven created a number of horror classics, but his masterwork has to be A Nightmare on Elm Street. This movie gave birth to one of horror's most iconic villains in Freddy Krueger, and additionally made New Line boatloads of cash. The first flick in the series is in a league of its own with haunting images, creative deaths, and even an artistic sensibility that elevates the movie out of the standard slasher genre and into a class of its own. While the sequels are pretty substandard for the most part, I have to give credit to A New Nightmare.
Miss me?
With Craven back in the director's chair and a supremely meta plot, New Nightmare takes the franchise into a whole new interesting direction, and shows Craven's ability to twist a genre he helped create a few years before the Scream series. Clive Barker may be best known for creating the Hellraiser series, but I prefer a very different monster movie he did called Nightbreed. This is definitely not a monster movie in the traditional sense, despite being packed with monsters. Now, this is more like Dark Crystal for adults, and there is a strong fantasy element to the story. So we follow this guy Boone. He's basically a meathead living in Canada, and he's haunted by dreams of monsters in a place called Midian. His doctor, David Cronenberg, thinks that Boone is a serial killer and is being haunted by what he's done. As Boone investigates further, he has a life-changing encounter with the Order of the Moon, a cabal of monsters that attempt to live in our world peacefully. And while I slightly prefer the theatrical cut of the movie, it's cool to have the director's cut on Netflix after over 20 years of waiting. Back in the simpler times of the 1980s, it was okay for kids' movies to actually have some balls. One of my absolute favorites like this is Monster Squad. You got Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, the Wolfman, the Mummy, and the creature from the Black Lagoon? Sure, why not? These easily licensed forces of evil descend upon an idyllic small town, and it's up to a ragtag group of super 80s kids to save the world. It's self-knowing of the genre while having fun with it in a new creative way. It's the best, seriously. The Exorcist. Yeah, I know you've seen it, then you should know why I had no choice. I have to pick it. It is that good. I mean, what can I tell you about it that you don't already know? It's possibly the greatest horror film of all time, and reaches a place of terror that is unparalleled. The characters and story are well drawn, including the priest at the center struggling with his own faith. And of course, the visuals include some of the most iconic in horror history. I'm gonna go lie down now. So there you have it. The ultimate list of viewing for a Halloween you'll never be able to forget. Terror and horror that shall be etched deep into the fear center of your brain lobe. You try to turn the lights on, but the screams won't stop. So what did you think of my list? Any of your favorites that I missed? Let me know in the comments below. Oh, and by the way, don't mention the Babadook to me. Duke my ass.